Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new CZARFACE meets Ghostface Killah project. CZARFACE is the collective of Wu-Tang's Inspector Deck alongside of Esoteric and 7L. They've been doing the CZARFACE project for a couple of years now, and for a while this has been actually one of my favorite projects in underground hip-hop. Their 2013 self-titled album is just an absolute blast from start to finish. It's got plenty of East Coast hardcore hip-hop verses that gives this project tons of legitimacy, but it backs it up with a series of old-school professional wrestling and old-school superhero elements. It's zany and completely over the top almost all the time. But also at the time they were able to string this album together with a lot of really great guest spots like Action Bronson and Rock Marciano and Ghostface himself. A lot of the same elements about this debut album carried over into their second album, Every Hero Needs a Villain, even more so at times. But it was around the release of A Fistful of Peril that I sort of got on the fence with CZARFACE. I feel like they continued to bring a lot of the same elements to the table time and time and time again, but each time just a little less exciting. And what the actual hell happened with 2018's album that they did alongside of MF Doom? This should have been a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 album. This album should have been perfect. I mean, look at Doom's persona. Look at what he's done for years. He blends with CZARFACE so well. What we got here was about 5% average at best rap tunes and 95% shtick. There were some solid tunes thrown in here, but nothing above average at the end of the day. Now, obviously, on this new project, they're working with Ghostface of Wu-Tang fame as well, and obviously, in the past, Inspector Deck and Ghostface have had tons of chemistry, so I was very excited going into this album. Let's chat about it. We have Back at Ringside starting this off. It's a short, mostly instrumental interlude. The only vocals that we get here are actually a pretty great Randy Savage impersonation. I mean, obviously, it's not that much of a tune, but it certainly gets you in the mood to listen to CZARFACE. It certainly gets you pumped. And honestly, the next track, Face Off, is 110% where I want to hear CZARFACE and Ghostface together. This track has a great dynamic, bouncing back and forth between a very anthemic guitar riff, as well as this distorted pop hook that sort of sounds like out of the world of David Lynch. It's a brilliant tune, filled with animated performances from Inspector Deck and Ghostface, and showing some real rekindling of their legendary charisma. But this is far from a gimmicky rap tune. There are some seriously aggressive bars here. This is a fantastic track. If we heard more tunes like this, I would be totally a happy camper. A couple of tracks later on Powers and stuff, once again, exactly where I want to hear them. The beat here is just fantastic. The jazzy sample is super classy. And these are easily some of those colorful bars from all four of these guys on the entire album. So much so that I feel like this should have probably been on one of the early CZARFACE albums. And little details like these children screaming their heads off at excitement at the collaboration between Ghostface and CZARFACE is just so brilliant. And not only that, but for a few short minutes, I feel like I'm truly in the presence of hip-hop royalty. And that's where I should be at right about now. Super Soldier Serum late in the album has a lot of really fantastic elements to it as well. Listening to this, once again, I feel like I'm reading some legendary hip-hop comic and watching it come to life. Also known as exactly where I should be listening to CZARFACE. On this one, I do sort of wish that Ghost and CZARFACE had a little bit more back and forth, because I feel like a lot of the times on this album, they're sort of like doing their own thing just on the same track, which is why I don't end up completely loving this album, but still, too many of these tracks are an absolute blast. CZARFACE and Ghostface also go for a lot of real stretches on this album. Take, for example, Iron Claw, which goes for this very grimy sound compared to the very animated sound that I'm used to hearing. But it's moments like this that sort of bring to light some of the issues I have with CZARFACE. They hop around a lot. Like on their last album, that was like 90% shtick. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this is like straight up no rules, no fuss, no muss, no animated, hardcore hip-hop. So much so that Wu superfans might be totally into this. If anything really wins this track over for me, it's Ghost's performance here. He sounds aggressive as hell, but I do sort of just miss some of the over-the-top antics of their first few releases. But there's also a ton of experiments that do really work out well here. Take, for example, Masked Superstars. Sure, the beat here might be a little clunky, but the personalities from all of these guys on this track are shining wonderfully. And once again, very important, I feel like I'm in the presence of rap royalty, and that is just so important. From the almost grandiose beat to these very aggressive, non-stop performances, this is 100% where I want to hear these guys. And for a couple of minutes, they don't even take themselves too seriously. I love it. The King Heard Voice is another really fantastic track. In a weird way, this almost comes off like a futuristic version of a track from Ghostface 12 Reasons to Die, one of my favorite Ghostface projects of all time. It's grimy, it's gritty, and it is easily the most over-the-top track here. And oh my god, that chorus is just so cheesy. It is so over the top. It is gold. Like, I can't help but shake my head, but in the best way. To quote Wu-Tang, like, honestly, I know it sounds cheesy, but when they're on like this, it's almost like they are forming up Voltron. And honestly, Mongolian Beef is one of my favorite tracks of the bunch. Like, compared to every other track here, this is a real freaking stretch. Like, this is a genuine turn of events. We get this very hazy, almost psychedelic atmosphere and beat, but at the same time, all of these guys sound so refreshed and aggressive. I love it. Like, it's aggressive, but it's also genuinely bizarre at times, but I love it. Like, it actually gives me a whole lot of hope for the future of CZARFACE. Like, I want to see just how weird these guys can get. But there are still a lot of very clunky, very awkward tracks here that keep me from loving this album. Take, for example, Zarcade 87. I see what you did there, guys. I love it. And with just how dark and in your face this track is, I thought I was going to end up loving it, but honestly, this one's kind of clunky. The pop culture references are okay at best, but at this rate, I feel like I could expect so much more. There used to be just such a fluidity to CZARFACE, but this is just average. I feel like they're reaching. Morning Ritual just makes me ask, why can't they find this medium once again between the aggressive verses and this sort of zany atmosphere? Now, this one's almost all Ghost, at least for the first half, something I'm kind of interested in hearing. Oh, but some of the one-liners here I can't take seriously to save my life, and this beat is just, I'm not into it at all. The goofy vocals, the bizarre imagery, I really shouldn't be saying any of these things right now. And Listen to the Color is the most abysmal track here. Like, this track follows up some of my favorite tunes here. Like, how do you follow that up with this? There is nothing about this track that is forward-thinking or legitimately interesting. Everything about this track is a cheap attempt to go back to their Wu-Tang days, and you may be into that, but I'm certainly not. The beat is average, the performances are blah, and lyric-wise, this is the least cutting track of the bunch. Even the short finale post-credit scene, I'm not that into. This to me just seems so damn rushed. Obviously, CZARFACE, and Ghost for that matter, don't really need a lot of time to make an impact. But here, we get this short tune that just comes off like a demo, to the point where I almost kind of wish that this was just an instrumental. And that, my friends, is bad. So honestly, I don't hate this album. I honestly have a lot more to say about this than like the last 3 CZARFACE projects. I mean, at its best, I feel like CZARFACE and Ghostface have tons of legitimate chemistry. Hilariously over-the-top one-liners, a colorful atmosphere, aggressive performances, it's all here in spades. However, like the MF Doom project from last year, this should have been like a 9 out of 10. This should have been so much more. It just kind of seems rushed at times, and there's just too much of going back and forth between ultra-aggressive and legitimately fun. But like I said, I still have a lot of great things to say about this album. You should certainly give it a chance if you're a Wu guy or you're just looking for a solid rap album right now. Until then, I'm feeling a light 7 on this, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like and a subscribe. And let me know down below what you guys would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a good day, guys.